Hey guys, so in the previous video we started a series about creating a terminal development environment, and we started with the first piece, which is the terminal, and we picked Ghostty and configured that one. Now in this video I want to move to creating the environment that we're going to live in. It's the place where we're going to run different applications, CLI tools, and do all kind of things like this. And for that we're going to be using Tmux. So what is Tmux? It's essentially a terminal multiplexer, and a terminal multiplexer essentially means that it's a tool that runs in the terminal, allows you to manage sessions and windows and panes. It's a tool that runs other terminals essentially. And they have a nice definition for this here in their repo. Tmux is a program which runs in a terminal and allows multiple other terminal programs to run inside it. It also allows you to kind of control the windows you're creating in the panes and all that kind of thing. And also sessions and move between sessions. So that's what Tmux is. So how do you get started? If you go to their repo, which is GitHub Tmux/Tmux, and then to the wiki, they have an installation page. To give you a short answer is, if you're on Mac, you can run brew install Tmux. On Linux, you can do something like sudo apt install Tmux, or whatever distro you're using might have a different way to install it. But that's pretty much all you have to do. Now, the next thing would be to check if it's installed. And with that, you can do something like Tmux-V, and that will give you, as you see here, the version of the Tmux you have on your machine. At the time of recording, I'm running version 3.5a. So now we have Tmux installed. How do we get started with this thing? All you have to do is just type Tmux and hit enter, and now you have a new session. And the way you can tell is because we have this green status bar down here, and that tells you that Tmux is correctly running. It's actually running. So a few things about this. You see here we have 0, which is the index of the session you're running. You got the window, so in this case we have ZSH. Then you have the index of that thing, which is 0. Yes, it's weird, it's starting from 0 instead of 1, but we can change this a bit later. On the right side, you see the directory name, and then you see essentially the date. And that's pretty much the whole status bar. Let's say we want to detach or like exit this thing. Now we have it open. We want to exit from Tmux. You can type Tmux detach. That will take you out of Tmux, but that won't kill the server. That won't stop Tmux completely. It's just going to exit from the Tmux session you have. It detaches from it. Now to go back to it, you can just type in Tmux attach, and it will attach you to the same session you were in before. Now, if you want to list all the sessions you have, because you could create multiple sessions, you can type in Tmux ls to list them. Notice here, it gives you the same index that you've seen here, and it says like this is the one you have one window, and then it's attached. If you want to have like a more interactive way to see the sessions that you have, you can press Ctrl B and then S, and that will essentially show you this view. And notice here a few things. It shows you first the sessions that you have. You could have multiple ones, as I said. Here you have the preview of what's going on inside the session. Now, if you're here and you press like the right arrow key, and you can go down here, you see that we have the windows. So for each session, you have multiple windows. In this case, it shows that you have a single window, which runs this one here. Let's talk a bit about the sessions. Sessions in Tmux is essentially the container. It's the workspace. It's like, for example, imagine you have 5 different projects. Each one will have a session that contains multiple different windows. That's what a session actually means in practice. So in this case, we have one session and we can create more. Now, to create a new session, we first need to detach from this one. So Tmux detach. To create a new session, all you have to do is just type in Tmux new-s and then give it the name. Let's say we're going to call it .files. Notice here when we created this one, we have .files here as the name of the session. Same thing as before, we have the window with like its index, and then the same thing at the right side. So now we have a new session. Let's list the sessions again and see if we have the rest of them. So we can do this now again, which is like prefix. And by the way, when you press Ctrl B, it's what we call prefix in Tmux. Essentially, this is the kind of combination of buttons that you press before you execute a command. So I'm going to call it prefix moving forward. It's Ctrl B, and this can be changed as well. So Ctrl BS, prefix S will show you this interactive view, and you see we have 2 different sessions. The first one we had earlier, and this one here. So if you kind of zoom in a bit on this one, you see we have a single window, and that's where we're at right now. Now, you notice here that I had to kind of detach. You don't always have to do that, by the way. I can simply create a new Tmux session without detaching by doing something like Tmux new session, and then -d -s and the name of the session you want to create. So -d essentially create a detached session. So you create it without attaching to it. So if I press enter, notice nothing happened, but we did create a new session by doing Tmux ls. You see that we have it here. This is our new session, but we're still attached to this one. And that's the whole point of this. Like, you can create sessions in detached mode. If you want to rename a session And notice here, like for example, we have this dot files, right? This is the name of the session we created. To rename this thing, all you have to do is just prefix and then $sign. Now to switch between sessions, you can run tmux switch -t and then you put the name of the session. So in this case, let's say new session. It's the one that just created. So -t here means target. You're targeting this session. If you press enter, notice down there, it changed to the other session that we just created. And now to rename this session, we can press prefix and $sign. And notice here it says rename session and then new session. So now you can essentially change this to whatever you want to say. Let's say new or session 1, 2, 3, for example. Now we have a new name for this session. Now to kill this session, or like delete it completely, all you have to do is just tmux kill session -t, and then you need to give it the name of the session you want to kill. Let's say I want to kill this first one here. So all I have to do is just put 0 and enter. Now if you do tmux ls again, you see we have only 2 sessions, .files and the other one, the session. Now notice we have a typo here, so let's rename this quickly by saying prefix $sign, and we actually want to name it this way. Now we have tmux ls and you see that it's named correctly. Great, so now let's talk about windows. So we've been kind of talking about sessions here. We have 2 sessions, but you can create multiple windows because you will need that. For example, one for your editor, one for your logs or server or whatever. So this thing here is the thing that tells you what window you're in. Right now, we only have one. Let me just go back to the .files first. So .files, and now we're here. All right. So to create a new window in Tmux, all you have to do is just prefix and then C. So Control B and then C. Notice what happens here. Now we have 2 of these. We have 0 ZSH and then we have this one here. So if I create a new one with prefix C, for example, now we have 3 and so on and so forth. Now a few things to show you here. Notice here we have this asterisk and we have this kind of minus sign. This is a very cool thing in Tmux. So the first one here, essentially it's telling you that this is the current window you're in. Where the minus, it's telling you that this was the last one. There is a way in Tmux to switch between the current and the last one super quickly, which is super cool. And I have a kind of a key binding for this. I will show you a bit later. But that allows you to kind of switch or toggle between the 2 super quickly, even if you have like 10 different windows. So now if you want to jump to a specific window, all you have to do is just prefix and the number of that one, the index. So 0 will take you to the first one. Prefix 1 will take you to the second one. And notice, by the way, here, this minus and asterisk, it keeps changing because that's the whole point. It wants to show you what's the current one and what's the previous one. So now to list all the different windows that you have here, you can press Control B or prefix and then W, and that would list all the different windows you have in all the sessions. It's the same interactive kind of view that I showed you earlier, but in this way you see all the windows open as well. So again, if you press prefix S, it's the same thing, but the other one will just show you the same view like that. Pretty handy sometimes. Now, if you want to rename one of those windows, just like we renamed a session, we can rename a window. To do so in Tmux, you can press prefix and then comma, and it opens up this rename window, and let's say we want to make it Vim. So notice now that the window with index 1 has the name Vim, and we can do this for whatever we want essentially. So next thing, if you want to kill one of those windows or essentially exit from it, there's a couple ways. First, let's go to the third one here. To kill this one, you can press prefix and then end, and this will ask you, do you want to kill this one? And if you say yes, it will just remove it. Another way to do so is just by saying prefix X. It will also kill it. Kill the pane, but if you have like just one window, you can just kill it the same way as well. So pane is a split. In this case, we only have one. So if you kill that one, it will kill the window for you. If you hit yes, it just kills that one. So speaking of panes, let's talk about them. So panes essentially is like splits. In any terminal, you have splits, right? So we are in Ghostty. If I open a new tab and then say, split left, it's just create a split. The same idea we have in Tmux. So in Tmux, to create a split, there's a couple ways. So first, if you want to split horizontally, you can press prefix and then double quote. That will split it like that. And if you want to split it vertically, you can press prefix and then percentage. And notice here, if you see this green bar here, or like green line, this is essentially telling you that you're in this box, that you're in this pane. That's how you can tell which one you're in. But there's other ways as well. So you can press, well, before that, actually, if you want to switch between them, assuming you're not using the mouse, you can press prefix and then arrows. And yes, we will change this to kind of use some Vim key binding, but by default, it uses arrows. So prefix up and down, prefix left, prefix right. That's how you switch between them. You can also cycle through them. So by pressing prefix O a couple times, notice that the cursor is like moving around all the different panes. Even more, you can actually press prefix and Q, and it gives you like the index. So prefix Q, it disappears quickly as well. So prefix Q1 it goes down there. Prefix Q2, it goes here. Then multiple ways to switch between them, but whatever you're comfortable with eventually. You could resize them, by the way. So now by default, they look like this and they kind of split by half. But if you want to resize, you can press prefix and then Alt up, for example, or prefix Alt down. The left and right, sometimes they don't always work depending on the operating system or the terminal you're using. So I will be creating some custom key maps for those to make it a bit easier. Usually it should work with like arrows. So it's similar to up and down, left and right, the same idea. There's another cool feature here. You can actually zoom in. Like, you know how in Vim or other editors you can have like a Zen mode? It's kind of the same thing. So by pressing prefix Z or Z, you just zoom in essentially. All the other panes will disappear or go to the background, and now you're zoomed in on one of them. Notice here you have down there this kind of Z here. This tells you that you're zoomed in. To exit this thing, just prefix Z and you're back here. Now, if you want to kill those or just exit or cancel them, essentially, you can do exit to kind of remove it. Another way is to prefix X and asks you, do you want to kill this pane? You say yes, and you're out of it as well. So there's always many options to do the same thing. Next, we have what we call copy mode in Tmux. So what this thing is, it's just Tmux's way for copying things. And this is super useful if you're on a server, because sometimes you don't have access to your normal clipboard there, but with Tmux you could. So now let's list some things here, and let me show you how to enter that. By pressing prefix and then left bracket, let's notice a couple things here. You have this kind of yellow thing here, obviously depending on your color scheme, but now you're essentially in copy mode. If you go up and down, notice that it's like I'm jumping between those lines. It's like whatever you have on your terminal, it's jumping up and down between them. Let's say I'm gonna go all the way up here, go all the way to the beginning. Let's say I want to copy all this block. All I have to do is just press space and then down to select these things. And then to copy this, you just press enter. And now you copied it. Now if you want to paste this, you press prefix and then the right bracket, and now you have it all in front of you. It's copied. Now if you're in copy mode again and you want to exit this thing, let's see, I'm here, I want to get out of this, you can press Q or escape. So Q take you out of the copy mode, and now you're back to this normal mode. Another cool thing about this is like you have essentially history for all the things you copied. So by pressing prefix and then equal, that shows you the things you copied. Like you can copy multiple things. For example, let me do ls here and then go to copy mode, go up here, press space, let's say select these things and then enter. We copied it, and now let's prefix equal. Now we have both of these things here. So it's essentially like a clipboard history for you in Tmux. All right, so all of this is awesome. This all comes by default. We didn't touch anything yet, no configuration so far. This is like the default. You get all of this by default. And by the way, one more thing I want to show you. If you press prefix and then colon, notice here we can do like things, right? Say press new and then tab. You see you have options, new session, new whatever. You can pretty much run everything I just showed you through commands as well. But the ones I showed you is just like the predefined ones. They have their own key maps and you can just use them as is. I don't find myself using these kind of commands a lot. There's just a couple things I like using sometimes, but it's usually like the last thing I think about. I have a couple key maps that I use for a different kind of functionality in Tmux, and that's pretty much it. You could configure Tmux, and let me open up the browser quickly. And if we go to this page, which is getting started, you go to wiki and then get started. I really recommend you go over this page. There's pretty much everything you want to know about Tmux is in here, and the details of whatever you can do with it and the concepts, all of that thing is just listed there. You can read it and kind of learn a bunch of stuff, creating a session, all that kind of thing. Oh, this was actually the pane title and not really the directory name. Yeah, so I recommend you read this whole thing. It will really help you. This is actually one useful command here. So if you press prefix and then question mark, this shows you a list of all the different things you can do with Tmux. So there's a lot of things. These are the key maps and you can customize them. So let's talk about Tmux configuration file now. So to configure Tmux, you need a file that exists here in the root directory essentially. So it's called .tmux.config or .conf. If you have this file, then you should be able to start adding your configuration for Tmux. Press enter and let me just save this so we can persist it. So now we have essentially configuration file for Tmux. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to just copy Tmux configuration that I usually put, and I'm going to walk you through them. So I don't have to kind of do it by hand one by one. Yes, it's a lot, but I'll walk you through the whole thing. So in Tmux, you have options or configurations, essentially kind of global ones or specific ones. So here's some of the options that I like to set. So the first one is VI mode, and this essentially allows you to do like the copy mode that we mentioned earlier, but using Vim key binding. The next one is I want to increase the history limit. So now I have like 10,000 different lines I can scroll back in history. Then I want to change the base index to 1. So if you notice here, this 0, I'm going to change that to 1 for the window. And the same thing is going to happen for the panes, the splits. So if you remember, we have like 0, 1, whatever. I'm going to start from 1. Why? Because on your keyboard, you start from 1 to like 9 and then 0. So you don't want to like keep doing back and forth with your hands. Next, I want to allow to rename, so I can automatically rename windows. Let Tmux do that for me. It will renumber them. So if you have like 3 windows and you kill the one in between, for example, number 2, it just renumber them from 1 to whatever. Default terminal, I'm just going to set it to term. Mouse on will allow you to use the mouse in Tmux, which is sometimes useful if you want to scroll or whatever. Set title, it will make the window title equal to the Tmux session. And then monitor activity will highlight windows with activities in the status bar. Yeah, ring bell, visual bell, all these things are just visual things. I don't want to see them. Focus event essentially will send the focus events to the program. Yeah, I kind of forgot what this does. I just have it. And the aggressive resize will resize window to smallest client actively viewing it. Now, detach on destroy. So if you only have like one session and you try to detach or like try to kill it, it will exit Tmux. But in this case, it will just create a new one or switch to the previous one. So it won't exit Tmux ever. So you always will end up living in Tmux. This is useful if you just want to have Tmux open all the time, essentially. Escape time. So remove delay when you're pressing escape. You just want it to be as quick as possible. This is useful for Vim. And those two things are mainly for colors. You want the colors to be as good as possible. And sometimes there's like, if you don't have those, the terminal, like the way Tmux is going to present the colors are like not very good. So you won't have like the colors you're looking for. Anytime you see like Tmux messing up your colors or your terminal is messed up, these two things usually fixes that. Let's look at more things here. All right, so next we're going to look at some key maps. And here we have Control A. And the thing is, a lot of people use Control A for prefix. Why? Because like normal keyboards, it's like awkward to press Control B all the time. And in my case, like I'm using a split keyboard, which is this one, and it's not a big problem. I can easily use that. However, it's very common, and you just use Control A for prefix. And to do so, first thing you need to unbound or like unbind essentially Control B, so you no longer have Control B as prefix. You make it Control A. You set it to Control A. So set is like the command you use to set it. And then you have global prefix Control A, and then you essentially bind the Control A to send prefix. That's how you do it. These 3 things, you're probably going to see them in all different configurations that people have. A couple more things I have here in my configuration, essentially making prefix R reload my config file. I think there's another way to do so, but if I press Control A and then R, this will source essentially the Tmux file. And by the way, to source Tmux, you can just essentially do it this way. Tmux source file like that. This will source your Tmux file. It's also nice to have it just be a command. Next would be the way I can kind of move back and forth between different windows. So I'm binding Control P and Control N to go next and previous. So by default, you have like prefix, as I said, and then N, or I don't have multiple windows, but prefix N, prefix P will essentially move back and forth between windows. In this case, I'm making it kind of by holding Control. So I don't have to kind of keep pressing prefix over and over. Now move around panes like Vim. So if you remember, we had like to use arrows. If we do bind -R H, select pane. So select pane, by the way, you can use it from here as well. You can say select pane. So the same idea, right? So I'm just creating a key map for this, and then, left, down, up, right. That's how I can move between them. So if I create multiple panes, I can quickly jump between them using the Vim keys. So like H, J, K, L. Next, we can cycle between windows. So cycle through windows using Control H and Control L. Again, if you have multiple windows like Control B, C, and then I can say to cycle between them like Control L. Next, I use this one here as well, N and P. It's like without having to press prefix over and over. That's why I use this that way. Now to resize panes, and as I mentioned, we have like an issue with this before, depending on the terminal. The way I do it is by setting these key maps. So I bind H to resize pane left 5, it's like 5 steps, I guess. And same with like right, down, and up. So I can now resize it with these key maps. I will kind of demo some of these things as we go through this, but I'm just going to read the configuration first so you can get the point. So you can also use it with Control without having to keep pressing prefix. So this -R, I have a comment up there to kind of remember what it is. It essentially means that you don't have to continuously keep pressing prefix. If you press it once and you keep holding the Control key, you can actually do the thing you want to do. No more prefixes. Next, a few more things here that could be useful. So if you want to move the current window to the next window or previous, you can essentially do it this way. So capital N or capital B, this allowed me to switch between windows. That's the whole point of this. So you list them and then you flip them. That's how I use it. The other thing is you bind space to last window. So when I press prefix and then space, that essentially takes me to the previous window. If you remember the whole asterisk and minus, these ones here, this allows me to toggle. It's the idea that I mentioned. The same idea, by the way, with sessions, which I will show you in a little bit. So if I press prefix and then B, this will switch sessions. So the previous session that I was in. So I can have, like, let's say 3 different sessions. The current one and the previous one that I visited, I can toggle between them super quickly as well. Next one is I can create a new window, temporary window, to open any application I want. And for that, for example, I use it for LazyGit. And again, I will show you in a little bit how this works. And the way this works is like you bind G or J in this case to create a new window, and then we open up the app we want, and then we just give it the current path with the app name. Essentially, this allows me to open up as LazyGit in a new window, do whatever I want to do with it, and then when I'm done, I can press Q, and then it gets me out of there. It will remove the window. Next, I have capital X, essentially to allow me to kill a window. So essentially show a prompt to kill a window by ID by using capital X, so capital X. And this is useful if you have multiple windows and you just want to kill it right away. You can just put the number and it will kill it for you. The next key maps I have is these two ones. So this minus and like this vertical thing here. I like those to kind of do vertical and horizontal splits. It's kind of more intuitive because it's just like this one is horizontal and the other one is vertical. So it kind of works that way. The next one is toggle status bar. So sometimes I don't even want to see the status bar completely. I can hide it. I have a way to hide it with this command. So I can bind T, so prefix T, to essentially hide it. Next, we have a way to put the status bar up or down. So you can, decide where you want to use them. Some people actually like to put the status bar on the top if they don't want to use like terminal tabs. But either way, you can go up and down quickly with like Control K and J in my case. Now these two things, I'm going to demo it eventually, but essentially this one here will allow me, it's like it's a script that I wrote that allow me to switch session in a pop-up using FZF, and the other one allows me to switch windows using FZF. I will demo it as well in a moment. Yeah, and then we have plugins, which is a whole different beast here. But in short, to install plugins with Tmux, you need a plugin manager, and their plugin manager is called TPM, and here's the repo. It's called tmux-plugins/tpm, and all you have to do to install it is just to have to clone it and put it inside Tmux plugin TPM, and this will allow you to install plugins. After you have this installed, you can just set the plugins you want this way, and then you source it, and then to install those plugins, all you have to do is just press prefix and capital I, and that will get you up and running. Also, to update the plugins that you have, you can just press prefix and then capital U. That will update them. All right, so some of the plugins I have, obviously this TPM, and for that to work, you actually have to have this line at the end. I also have this Sensible, which kind of creates some or adds some defaults to your Tmux configuration, some of the kind of most used ones, I guess. Tmux Resurrect, it will save and restore the session. So you can pretty much save your session at any time and then restore it. Continuum, this one here will keep on saving, essentially, automatically saving your session for you. Yank, it will allow you to use the or copy things to your clipboard, and it works across different platforms as well. And then Vim Tmux Navigator, this is something we're going to touch on a bit later, maybe in the next video when we work on the Vim video. This allows you essentially to, when you have panes and splits, it just allows it to become easier for you to jump between different panes and like splits in Tmux and in Vim. It's a way to make this a bit easier. This plugin, which is Tmux Prefix Highlight, essentially just shows you like a prefix key being pressed in your status bar. Just another visual thing. And this one here is actually pretty cool. This plugin allows me to kind of have a pop-up or like search all the different Tmux related things, sessions and windows using FZF. FZF is a fuzzy finder that runs in your terminal. And the last one here, which is Continuum Restore On, it will automatically restore the last session that you have when you rerun Tmux. And this line here is not needed. I have it from like before. We can probably get rid of it. All right, so that's all of my configuration. If you go all the way up, you see it's not a lot of lines. It's like 123 lines. That's all I have. If I save and exit, and now we need to, let's do Tmux kill server. So kill server will just kill Tmux completely. So now you have to install your plugins. You can just run prefix and then capital I. To make sure we have this TPM in place first, let me just git clone it, and now we have it in place. So now if I press Control A and then R, it's going to reload my configuration, and then Control A and capital I, it will install my plugins. So if everything works correctly, it should open up a new page, or like Control A, U, and there you go. It's reloaded. We have all the plugins installed, as you see. All of my plugins installed. So now if I press prefix and then S, or prefix and then R to reload, prefix capital I, it will install all my plugins, and we're good to go. So now let me demo some of the interesting things that I showed you here. So we got these two commands. So the way these work, let me first create a new window, and then let me create a new session. So new session -d, let's say my new session. Let me go back to one. So first of all, as I said, prefix space will toggle between the two different windows I have. And so I have the first one, which is Control E here. So if I press prefix and then E, it opens up this thing, which is the FDF one, and it shows me the sessions that I have. So I have this other session, right? And I can go to the first one. And then if I use the other one, which is this guy here, it's press prefix and then F, it opens up this thing, which allows me to switch between the different windows that I have. So I can go this one or switch between them essentially. If you have a lot of them, you can just search as well. So the other one is the LazyGit one. So prefix J, it opens up LazyGit, and you see here we have, the usual view for that. Now to hide the kind of status bar, prefix T, it just removes it. It's still on, so now I can do prefix F and then switch between them. And that's usually how I use this, by the way. I just hide this thing completely because I don't care about it. And I use those things, so prefix F to switch between like windows, and then I have prefix E to kind of switch between sessions. But also I have prefix B that kind of switch to the previous session, kind of toggles between them, and prefix space to toggle between different windows. And this is kind of a pattern you'll notice here. Like I have key maps to toggle between the last, essentially the current and the previous window, the current and the previous session. That's how I usually use this. And whenever I have a lot of things I want to switch between, I just use the F or the E here. Now, if you want to put back the status bar, it's prefix T, and that's how I put it back there. Next, I have these two kind of key maps, which allows me to put the status bar on the top or on the bottom. So essentially prefix K, prefix, and I kind of am holding the control key here and then J. Also another kind of time to show this, if I open up this kind of command thing down there, so you can run commands in Tmux, right? So I can say set options -J status position top, and there you go. So you can pretty much just use the same thing here and put it up or down. And if you have more different like complicated things you want to have, you can just kind of type in the command, test it out, and then create a key map for it. I usually keep it down there or just hide it. There's the FDF one. Let me show you how this works. So if I press Tmux and then space, you can pretty much kind of search between all the different things that Tmux can do. If I say Tmux switch, for example, switch client, and hit tab, you can do all kind of things like this. So it kind of auto-completes for you. And you can do like Tmux kill, and it shows you all the different things. So it's pretty handy if you just want to kind of quickly remember what kind of command you have. So as you see, I didn't touch as well on the how to customize the theme of Tmux, because there's a lot of things out there that you can just install as a plugin and it will change it. So depending on your preferred theme, like Groovebox or Cappuccino or whatever, you can get something that looks perfectly for that. So for example, I do have one that I created myself for Groovebox. I used Groovebox for years and I still use it. And essentially it looks something like this. And this is based, by the way, on the Tokyo Night one, which is also a very beautiful one. I don't think they have any screenshots. Oh, they do have some here. So it looks also pretty cool. And there's so many different ones like this. I'm kind of defaulting to the basic one right now. I don't really care too much about this anymore. To be honest, it looks nicely with the kind of the color scheme I'm using with my terminal right now. So if you want to kind of dive deep a bit more, I would also encourage you to look at the manual. Everything you ever want to know about Tmux can be found here. So definitely give this a read once in your lifetime. And there's also the documentation here. So a lot to cover. Obviously, it's a long video. Hopefully it will teach you some stuff. But my recommendation is not to complicate this. And honestly, the way I would approach it is just use the defaults as long as you can. I would really just stick to the kind of some of these things just to make the things work correctly, but don't bother with key maps for a while to kind of get used to how this works, because you probably don't even need them. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope I covered enough ground in regard to Tmux. There's obviously a lot more to cover, but I don't think it's necessary to be productive in it. So the next video will be on Neovim, and this will complete our series. So terminal, Tmux, and then you got Neovim. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.